The sound of a roaring engine filled the small-town garage, rattling the walls and hearts of everyone inside. Malik, a young black mechanic known for his precision and calm under pressure, didn't expect this day to change his life forever. The bike that rolled in wasn't just any motorcycle. It bore the unmistakable red and white patch of the Hells Angels. The other mechanics froze, whispering under their breath while Malik tightened his gloves and stepped forward. He saw a machine in need, not a man with a reputation. But when kindness met prejudice, the sparks that flew weren't just from the metal. By the end of the day, Malik's name would echo far beyond the shop walls, for reasons that would leave everyone stunned. The morning had started like any other at Johnson's Auto and Cycle, a cramped but busy garage tucked at the edge of a quiet Midwestern town. Malik had been there for 3 years, earning respect through his work ethic, precision, and patience. His hands told stories of hard labor, scarred, steady, and skilled enough to bring life back to engines most would have scrapped. The shop's owner, Sarah Johnson, was old school, sharp-eyed, proud, and protective of her business. Malik knew how to stay out of trouble, how to nod, smile, and work harder than anyone else. But no matter how many bikes he fixed or customers he saved from breakdowns, the feeling of being judged never left him. That morning, the air was thick with the scent of oil and burnt rubber when the unmistakable rumble of a Harley-Davidson cut through the noise. Heads turned. A man in a leather vest stepped off the bike, tall, broad, covered in tattoos, the Hells Angels emblem stitched proudly across his back. Conversations died instantly. No one in the shop had ever dealt with one of them before. Sarah stepped forward, cautious but professional, asking what was wrong. The biker simply said his engine was failing and he needed it fixed fast. Everyone hesitated, except Malik. He saw the problem instantly, a cracked cylinder head, leaking oil, a quick but delicate fix. When he offered to handle it, Sarah's expression tightened. "You sure you want to touch that thing?" she muttered, half warning, half doubt. Malik just nodded. To him, a bike was a bike, metal, bolts, and motion. But as he bent over the engine, the weight of every stair in that garage pressed against his back. He didn't know it yet, but that single decision, to help a man everyone else feared, would be the one that cost him everything. The hours dragged on as Malik worked, his hands moving with the rhythm of experience and focus. The garage buzzed around him, but he felt alone, isolated by the uneasy silence of his co-workers. Every time the biker shifted his weight or exhaled, the others flinched, glancing at Malik as if expecting something to explode. Yet the stranger watched him differently, calm, almost curious, like he was seeing beyond the shop uniform and skin color, straight to the skill that guided those hands. By noon, Malik had stripped down the engine, cleaned out the grime, and welded the cracked part with precision. The smell of hot metal and gasoline filled the air. When the biker revved the engine again, it purred like new. A deep, throaty sound filled the shop, commanding attention. The man grinned for the first time, nodding at Malik with genuine respect. "You got hands, brother," he said, his voice gravelly but sincere. Malik smiled back, surprised. It wasn't often he was seen that way, just as a man doing good work. But Sarah didn't smile. Instead, she wiped her hands and told Malik to take a walk. The tension was thick, visible in every gesture. Outside, Malik heard the faint hum of the repaired bike leaving, followed by low murmurs through the garage's thin walls. When he stepped back in, the stairs were sharper, the air heavier. Sarah stood near the counter, talking to 2 local cops who'd somehow shown up. Words like association, reputation, and liability floated in the air. That evening, Sarah called Malik into her office. No small talk, just a folded check and a cold stare. "You can't be working here if you're bringing that kind of attention," she said flatly. "This shop has a name to protect." Malik stood frozen, the reality sinking in. Not for what he'd done wrong, but for who he had helped. The roar of the Harley still echoed in his ears, now twisted into the sound of injustice. He walked out without a word, carrying nothing but his tools and a heavy silence that no engine could fix. For days, Malik tried to move on. He picked up odd repair jobs from friends, fixed engines out of his backyard, and told himself it would blow over. But news travels fast in a small town. Whispers spread. "He's the guy who helped a Hell's Angel." Customers stopped calling. Shops that once needed him suddenly weren't hiring. Even the local diner he'd eaten at for years started serving him with polite distance. The more he tried to explain, the more invisible he became. It wasn't about what he'd done anymore. It was about what people wanted to believe. Then, one afternoon, a convoy of motorcycles rolled into his street. Engines thundered, tires screeched, and neighbors peeked through their curtains in fear. Malik stepped outside, heart pounding. The same biker he'd helped climbed off his Harley, surrounded by others wearing the same patch. Malik braced for confrontation, but the man walked forward calmly, holding a small envelope. "You fixed what no one else would touch," he said. "That means something." Inside the envelope was a handwritten note and a thick wad of cash, enough to open his own small garage. The note read, "Real ones help because it's right, not because it's safe." Malik stood there speechless, the sound of idling engines mixing with the rush of disbelief. The very people everyone feared had shown him the respect his own town had denied him. But before he could thank them, the group roared away, leaving only dust, tire marks, and a strange silence behind. By nightfall, Malik sat alone in his living room, the money still in his hand, thinking about the line between reputation and reality. In one moment, he'd gone from being a skilled mechanic to a man marked by fear and rumor, and now to someone chosen for his integrity. The world outside didn't change, but something in Malik did. He understood that respect, like trust, wasn't given. It was earned, often at a cost too high for comfort. Weeks passed, and Malik's small home garage began to hum with life. At first, only a few brave customers came, those who cared more about results than rumors. But word spread, quietly and steadily. The man who fixed anything, no judgment attached. Every bike that rolled in became a symbol of something greater than repair. It was about rebuilding trust, dignity, and identity. Malik no longer worked under someone's watchful eye or quiet prejudice. He worked for himself, with pride stitched into every bolt he tightened. Across town, Sarah's garage began to lose customers. Some said it was karma, others called it coincidence. But Malik didn't gloat. He knew what had happened to him wasn't just about one person's bias, it was about the deep cracks in the foundation of a system that judged before it listened. Still, he chose to respond not with anger, but with excellence. Every satisfied customer, every engine that roared back to life under his care, became his quiet protest. One afternoon, a familiar rumble echoed outside. The same Harley-Davidson rolled up again, gleaming under the sun. The biker dismounted and nodded. "Heard you got your own place now," he said, handing Malik a custom patch with a single word embroidered on it: respect. It wasn't a club insignia or a threat. It was a message. A reminder that character speaks louder than color. As the biker rode off, Malik looked at the patch and smiled. He pinned it to the wall above his workbench, not as a trophy, but as a promise. The world might still be unfair, still divided, but every act of integrity pushed it an inch closer toward change. He turned back to his tools, grease-stained hands, steady and sure, and whispered to himself, "One day they'll see." Because sometimes, the loudest revolutions don't come from riots or protests. They come from the quiet hum of a man who refuses to give up doing what's right, even when the world gets it wrong.